Christopher, you're part of an extraordinary family. People think of it as the royal family of America. How is it possible that you, coming from the family you came from, how did you get hooked on booze and drugs? How is that possible?
The fact that any of us in my family survived what we went through is a fucking miracle. Two of my uncles had their heads blown off,
right,
and I had to see that every fucking day for the rest of my life.
Right.
It obliterated my family. It obliterated any safety I thought I had. It obliterated my ability to have relationships with anybody. And that's what made me an addict, okay?
Okay.
I took the drug. It worked. It saved my fucking life. Drugs and alcohol, let's be really clear about it, saved my fucking life until they turn on you. And they always turn on you. And then you have to find another way. I feel sorry for the people in my family who didn't have a way out. And there are a few of them, and we know who they are. I was medicating something traumatic. And there's no question about that. I didn't want to use drugs. I was 13 years old or 12 years old. My friends were trying to get me to drop acid with them in 7th grade. I said no because my uncles were important to me. I wanted to go into public service. I wanted to be president of the United States. And then in 1968,
right,
in the June of 1968, when my Uncle Bobby was assassinated,
right,
the next fall, my friends asked me again, and I said, sure. Now, it turned out that as soon as I put that shit in my body, the only thing that mattered to me for the next 17 years was when I was going to get my next one. But I still was productive because of the family I come from. Because I grew up in an environment where you were provoked to do more.
You're talking about expectations for you, for the kids in the family, what their expectations are, the ones for you. And, I mean, Christopher, that must have produced a hell of a lot of pressure on you. I used to think about that a lot, about the amount of pressure on you as the oldest in the family, the only boy, and all that kind of shit, to live up to...
You know, look, in comparison to watching your uncle, look, I was in a yoga class 3 days ago, and a woman comes up to me. She goes, you know, I watched this thing on CNN about the Kennedy assassination, and I wanted to talk to you. I'm like, yeah. She goes, well, you know, it's amazing to me that the Secret Service might have killed him. And
God.
And I'm like, no. But this is a really nice human being who doesn't understand that she's talking to me 50 years later about a murder that altered my life forever.
Right.
And that I've had to, so compared to expectations and stuff,
right,
of, you know, what you want to accomplish, that shit doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, it was, you grow up in a family where the bar is set at martyred president at 44. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, but there's also a lot of good stuff with that.
Right.
So the problem was murder
yeah,
and violence,
right,
and reliving that every day, and what that did to my mother, what it did to my father, what it did to my aunts and uncles, what it did to all of us was, and nobody talked about it.
Yeah, that's true too. No one talked about it.
That's the deal.
Yeah, no one did talk about it.
And anything ancillary to that is kind of interesting conversation and certainly is in the mix, but pales in comparison to the major issue.
Now, Christopher, how did you get from that? Once you decided to quit, right, once you went into rehab, how did you move from that to that becoming part of your public service? Because you've become very prominent. Right.
I'm going to be really clear about this. There's no linear thing here. I tried for 10 years to get clean and sober. I should have died. The only thing I did right was I never gave up, and I wanted to get better. That comes from my family. That comes from a sense, not just a sense of public service, but a sense of to whom much is given, much is expected.
Good.
Okay? A sense that you have an obligation to make the world better than when you got here.
Good.
That's not a bullshit thing, okay? And there are a lot of people that have it. My family has it. A lot of that, look, you and I can have a different conversation about ambition. And did public service really drive these people or ambition? And I would put my money in ambition, but we won't talk about that now.
But Christopher, it's very unique to you. Give me just a second. You and I have met in our lives a lot of fucking rich people. Most of them aren't worth shit. Most of them don't give anything to anybody else unless there's something in it for them. This idea of public service is extraordinarily rare. in the sense where it has moved from one generation to another. It's very hard to think of families over a course of 2 or 3 generations who have maintained a commitment to public service, as your family has. Where did it begin? Does that come from Rose?
Dodson, it had to do with power and money. It's not about, listen to me, you and I both know this, come on. I mean, I'll dress it up any way you want, but the truth is those people that did all that stuff, they got enormous benefit from it. Well, you think Teddy did everything that he did just because he cared about poor people? No, he cared about the currency of the name and his legacy and power. And he cared about poor people, too. But if he really cared about poor people, he just would have gone to a fucking ghetto or done what Gandhi did. I mean, these guys were fueled by ambition, their own egos, and they turned it into some serious good. Okay, but let's not be Pollyannish about it.
No, Christopher, there's also such things as moral imperatives. People do things because they feel morally impelled to do it because it's the right thing to do it. I mean, Chris, you mentioned Gandhi. I could mention Mother Teresa. I mean, there are all sorts of spiritual reasons people do good, even when it's against their own self-interest.
Right. I don't believe that that's what we're talking about when we're talking about my uncles. That is not what propelled them to do good. They were not, that's not the same, that's not my experience, that's not what I believe, but you can, any way you want to do it. Let me just tell you about what happened with me.
Yeah.
I tried to get sober, I didn't die, I kept knocking on the door, I stayed connected to treatment.
Right.
And a desire to always get better, and I didn't die. I did 2 things right. I didn't die, and I always wanted to get better. I credit my family with that. I think I have strong genes, and I think I had a real desire to have a life that meant something, and I got that from my family.
One final question, Christopher, and you're going to hate the question, but people bring it up. Do you have any plans of running for public office?
No, I don't, only because I don't think I'd be very good at it. I think I'd be a really good dictator. I could not do what my Uncle Teddy did, and I don't think there are many people that could. I mean, he was not only unbelievably passionate about what he believed in, but he could work with people who might have been abhorrent to him.
Right.
And I have a really hard time doing that. He was a genius at it. And that's what we need more than anything now, is people that know how to get along with people. And I'm not good at that. And that quite frankly, has something to do with my alcoholism. And I just have a difficult time in relations with other human beings. Now, can I get over it? Probably. Could I get over it for a bigger purpose? Probably. Do I really want to at my age and do that? Dodson, I'm living on the North Shore of Maui. When I finally did get sober, I had no intention of becoming an advocate for this illness. I did my work for fun and for free in 12-step rooms all over the world, being of service to other people, saving lives, and not getting any attention for it. And it was fine, and it was good, and on some level, it's a purer form of service than what I do now. What I do now is vital, because society won't deal with this thing. Okay?
Yeah, go on. I don't know specifically what you're doing. I want you to fill me up on what
okay. Basically, I was a Goodwill ambassador for the United Nations, the first one ever appointed for drug treatment and care issues.
When was that?
3 years ago.
3 years ago? Okay.
So I did my work with the UN. I did my work with the Office on National Drug Control Policy.
Right.
When they call me, that's at the White House.
Right. Yeah, I know what that is.
I speak for nonprofits all over the world about this. I basically write books and make speeches about stigma, discrimination, and what this disease is. And the only reason I'm doing it is because I wrote a book about my life, and it turned out to be a pretty good book, and I intended on writing a novel about a guy trying to figure women out after that, and the avalanche of need and opportunity that came at me to do more in this field was undeniable and insurmountable. So I wrote another book, and I wrote another book, and I'm kind of tired of writing books about this. And you're going to mention my books, right?
Yes, darling, I will. What you want mentioned, send me in an email. By the way, do you have one of the person I want to get a hold of is little Teddy, and I've emailed him at his office, and I don't get any reply.
Harwood?
Yeah.
Well, he's not there anymore.
Well, do you have a personal email for him?
No.
You don't?
I don't have anything to do with most of my family members. I mean, I love little Teddy. I did talk to Patrick, and I'm happy to get you Patrick's email.
Yeah, send me Patrick's, will you?
Okay. And then you can go from there.
Yeah, the one I have for Patrick is for I know he's on Congress anymore, so that's not any good.
No. I'll send you his email, and you can get in touch with him.
All right, because I want to talk to one of them, because I'm talking to Vicky, but you never know with Vicky.
Yeah. I just looked at my wife. You got to meet my wife.
I want to meet your wife.
Austin, who is one of our great friends, was great friends with my mom, and you would adore him.
What is she in the room?
When we go to New York, we'll have dinner with him.
Is she in the room?
No, she's outside. I'm standing on my deck.
Oh. I thought you invited me to Hawaii for 3 months in the winter.
You can totally come visit in Hawaii. I have a little house for you to sleep in here. I have 3 little houses on the ocean.
I didn't want to sleep alone.
Well, good luck with that.
Listen,
none of my business. Yeah.
All right, well, good. I need a nice quote from you about Ted. Then I'll let you go, kid.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well.
In public service.
Okay. My Uncle Teddy was, without question, my hero.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
And he was my hero because of his passion for life and because of his relentlessness in rooting out injustice.
Good.
Wherever that was.
Good.
And he was dedicated to it. No, I mean, there wasn't anything that got my Uncle Teddy more pissed off than people who are gaming the system, taking advantage of people, or fucking around with, what this country can be.
Okay.
So he was the real deal, no question about it.
Well, is that one? Could I quote you as saying that he's one of the reasons you are involved in public service?
Oh, no question about it. Listen, if it wasn't for my Uncle Teddy, I'd be making a lot of money somewhere.
Son of a bitch.